Anxiety has become a familiar presence in today's fast-paced world. Balancing work, family, and personal well-being often seems impossible. But what if there's a way to navigate life's chaos with clarity and calm, no matter how overwhelming things seem? Every morning, I wake up to the same pressing question. How can I balance my career while giving my children the time, love, and guidance they deserve? The pressure to perform at work while being an engaged parent feels like a constant tug of war. Some days I wonder, am I missing the moments that truly matter? Am I doing enough to prepare them for the future? These worries can pile up, leaving me anxious and emotionally drained. I know many of you can relate. These struggles are real, whether it's the endless to-do lists, the fear of falling behind at work, or the guilt of not being fully present for your family. That's why I turned to Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that provides practical tools to ease anxiety, focus on what you can control, and embrace what matters most. In this video, I'll share 10 actionable Stoic strategies to help you overcome anxiety and find balance in your life. I'd love to hear from you if you've ever felt this way. Share your biggest worries about parenting or work in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Let's work toward a calmer, more intentional life together. 1. Parenting and anxiety: how Stoics can help you stay grounded. Parenting is a journey full of love, but it's also riddled with constant worry. Since my children started school, my mind has been a whirlwind of fears. What if they can't make friends? What if they're bullied? What if they think I'm not there for them? I found myself replaying these thoughts over and over, often lying awake at night. These fears don't just drain me, they make me question whether I'm enough as a parent. One morning, after dropping my son off at school, I sat in my car and realized how tightly I was gripping the steering wheel. My heart raced as if something terrible had already happened. But nothing had. It hit me. I was worrying about things I couldn't control. The school environment, other kids, and even the way my son perceived my care. These were all outside my hands. This is where Stoicism changed my perspective. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should focus only on what is within our control: our actions, our words, and our love. The rest, the uncontrollable, must be accepted. I began to ask myself, what can I do as a father right now? Instead of spiraling into fears, I focused on being present, reading together at night, asking about their day, and showing them through actions how much I cared. If you're a parent, you've likely faced these same swirling anxieties. But here's the lesson Stoicism offers. Worry is wasted energy when it's directed at things beyond your influence. Instead, direct your energy where it matters, your connection with your children. When you feel overwhelmed, pause. Ask yourself, am I acting out of fear or love? What is within my control right now? Then, focus on that. Maybe it's sitting with your child during a tough homework session, or listening when they tell you about their friends. These small moments shape their lives more than any fear ever will. Parenting will never be free of challenges, but Stoic wisdom helps us approach those challenges with clarity and calm. By focusing on what you can do and letting go of what you cannot, you'll find peace, and your children will feel it too. 2. Take one small step at a time. Feeling overwhelmed is something we all experience, especially when life's responsibilities stack up. Anxiety often comes not from what we need to do, but from the sheer volume of tasks we perceive as unfinished. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking about everything at once: the big project at work, the bills that need paying, the repairs waiting at home. The weight of it all can feel crushing, leaving us stuck, unable to move forward. The Stoics believed that the key to overcoming such paralysis lies in focusing on the present moment and the immediate task at hand. Marcus Aurelius taught that we build our lives piece by piece, not by trying to tackle everything at once. This principle resonates deeply in today's fast-paced world, where multitasking and chasing long-term goals often lead to burnout rather than progress. After that moment in the car, I realized my worries extended far beyond parenting. Every aspect of my life felt like a towering mountain I couldn't climb. Work deadlines loomed like thunderclouds, bills piled up, and tasks at home never seemed to end. I would look at my endless to-do list and freeze, paralyzed by how far I felt from where I wanted to be. One evening, I sat at the kitchen table with my head in my hands. My son came up to me, holding a puzzle piece. He said, "Dad, you don't finish the puzzle all at once. You just put one piece in at a time." His words stuck with me. The Stoics teach that life is assembled action by action, moment by moment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, do each thing as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life. That wisdom became my anchor. Instead of focusing on the overwhelming entirety of my responsibilities, I began to take one small step at a time. The next day, I tackled my largest work project by breaking it into manageable tasks. First, I wrote down everything I needed to do. Then I asked, what's one thing I can do right now? I ignored the bigger picture, focusing solely on the step in front of me. To my surprise, the mountain didn't seem as intimidating when I chipped away at it piece by piece. If you've ever felt stuck or overwhelmed by the weight of your responsibilities, the answer lies in this Stoic principle. Stop thinking about the entire mountain. Instead, focus on the next step. Ask yourself, what small action can I take today to move forward? Then do it. When you consistently take small, deliberate steps, progress becomes inevitable. Like a puzzle, each small piece adds up to something greater. Overwhelm turns into clarity, and anxiety gives way to confidence. Life doesn't demand perfection or superhuman strength. It simply asks for persistence, one small step at a time. Remember this, the next time you feel frozen by fear, all you need to do is start. 3. Reclaim your time by letting go of opinions. In today's hyper-connected world, it's easy to feel like you need to have an opinion about everything. Social media, news updates, and conversations at work pull you into debates about politics, celebrity scandals, or even what your neighbor is doing. The more you try to keep up, the more your mental energy drains. You start to feel anxious, not because of what's happening, but because you're giving your time and focus to things that don't truly matter. Imagine scrolling through your phone and coming across a heated discussion in the comments section. You feel the urge to respond, to defend your viewpoint. Hours later, you're still thinking about it, mentally replaying the argument. But what's changed? Nothing. Except now, you feel more stressed, and your day's priorities have been sidelined. The Stoics teach that we don't have to have an opinion about everything. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that tranquility comes when we care only about what's within our control, our actions, our thoughts, our choices. Letting go of unnecessary opinions isn't about being indifferent. It's about protecting your peace of mind and energy for what truly matters. If you've ever found yourself caught in this cycle, stop and ask, does this issue really need my input? Will my opinion change anything? Often, the answer is no. Letting go of the need to engage gives you back your time, focus, and emotional balance. Here's how to apply this principle. Set clear boundaries for your attention. Limit the time you spend on social media or in unproductive conversations. Focus on what's actionable. If a situation doesn't directly involve your actions or choices, let it be. Pause before reacting. When you feel drawn into an argument, remind yourself, I don't have to have an opinion about this. By letting go of unnecessary opinions, you free your mind to concentrate on what truly matters, your goals, relationships, and well-being. This clarity not only reduces anxiety, but also helps you move through life with greater purpose and focus. Remember, your time is precious. Don't waste it on things that don't deserve it. 4. Embrace gratitude in everyday moments. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most overlooked practices for finding peace. Anxiety often pulls us into a mindset of scarcity. We focus on what's missing, what's wrong, or what could go wrong. It's easy to fall into this cycle, especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with comparisons and expectations. Gratitude, however, shifts our perspective. It pulls us out of the trap of not enough and into the realization that there's beauty and abundance in the present moment if only we choose to see it. The Stoics deeply valued gratitude as a way to center themselves amidst chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote about finding joy even in the smallest things, like how bread cracks when baked or the color of olive leaves. Gratitude is not just about being positive, it's about training the mind to notice what is already good, even when life feels overwhelming. As I started to let go of unnecessary opinions, I noticed another pattern in my life. I was always focused on what I didn't have or what wasn't going well. Even on good days, I found myself worrying about the next issue. Gratitude wasn't just missing, it felt impossible. One morning, I rushed through my routine, barely noticing my surroundings. My mind was already at work, stressing over deadlines. But as I stepped out of the house, my youngest child ran up to me with a crumpled drawing of us holding hands. "I made this for you, Dad," he said, smiling brightly. I froze, realizing how much I'd been missing in my rush. That small moment, that simple gesture, reminded me of everything I had been overlooking. The Stoics teach us that happiness isn't found in extraordinary things. It's in appreciating the present moment. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the beauty of life, even in its simplest forms. Gratitude isn't just a mindset, it's a skill we must practice. If you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck in negativity, pause and ask yourself, what am I thankful for right now? It doesn't have to be grand, a moment of peace, a loved one's laughter, or even the meal in front of you. These small acts of recognition shift your focus away from what's missing to what's already here. Here's how to build gratitude into your life. Start a gratitude journal. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each day, no matter how small. Slow down and notice. Take a moment to appreciate the world around you, a sunset, a kind word, or even the warmth of a morning coffee. Express it. Tell someone why you're grateful for them. Gratitude grows when it's shared. That morning, I hugged my child and thanked him for the drawing. In that moment, all my stress melted away. Gratitude has a way of grounding us, of bringing us back to what truly matters. When life feels chaotic, gratitude reminds us that peace is found not in what we chase, but in appreciating what we already have. The present moment is a gift. Don't let it slip by unnoticed. 5. Process. Don't suppress your emotions. Anxiety often grows from emotions we ignore or push away. When we suppress our feelings, anger, sadness, or fear, they don't disappear. Instead, they simmer beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to erupt. It's like carrying a tightly sealed bottle of water on a long hike. At first, it feels manageable, but as the weight compounds, it becomes unbearable. The Stoics knew the danger of ignoring emotions. They didn't preach emotional detachment in the way many assume. Instead, they believed in observing and understanding emotions. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on his frustrations and fears in his writings, using them as a tool for self-awareness rather than denial. By naming and examining emotions, the Stoics turned what could have been destructive forces into opportunities for growth. Take, for example, the frustration of being stuck in traffic after a long day. The instinct is to suppress the annoyance, to bottle it up and pretend it doesn't matter. But that frustration doesn't vanish. It might show up later, snapping at a loved one or creating a sense of unease you can't shake. Instead, pause and acknowledge the feeling. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this something I can control? The lesson here is simple. Emotions aren't the enemy. Ignoring them is. Processing your emotions doesn't mean giving them control. It means facing them with honesty and wisdom. If you're dealing with strong emotions, here's how you can approach them the Stoic way. Pause and identify. Take a moment to name what you're feeling. Sometimes just naming the emotion can reduce its intensity. Examine the source. Ask yourself, what triggered this emotion? Is it something within my control or beyond it? Journal it out. Writing down your thoughts helps untangle complicated feelings, giving you clarity and perspective. Redirect your energy. Once you've understood the emotion, channel it into something constructive, like physical activity or a creative outlet. The goal is not to eliminate emotions, but to manage them wisely. When you learn to process instead of suppress, you'll find a sense of calm and control that can transform how you navigate life's challenges. By understanding your emotions, you take away their power to control you and turn them into tools for resilience and growth. 6. Challenge the stories you tell yourself. Anxiety doesn't always come from what happens to us. Often it comes from the stories we tell ourselves about what could happen. The mind creates narratives, most of them negative, and we start believing them as truth. These imagined fears can feel just as real as reality itself. I remember a time when I was preparing for an important presentation at work. For days leading up to it, my mind was flooded with doubts. What if I forget what to say? What if they think I'm incompetent? What if I fail? These thoughts ran like a loop, each one feeding my anxiety. I imagined the worst possible outcome: embarrassment, disappointment, even job failure. The truth is, none of these things had happened yet, but I was already suffering as if they had. On the morning of the presentation, I took a moment to sit quietly and breathe. I reminded myself of a lesson I'd learned from the Stoics. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, as Seneca once said. I asked myself, what evidence do I have that I will fail? The answer was none. My fear was a story, one I was telling myself without proof. That realization was powerful. Instead of giving in to those imagined disasters, I chose to challenge the story. I asked, what if I do well? What if I succeed? Shifting my focus to a more constructive thought didn't erase the nerves, but it gave me back control. I walked into that room, did the presentation, and it went better than I had feared. None of the worst-case scenarios came true. If you've ever been paralyzed by fear or worry, take a moment to ask yourself, is this story true? Is this fear based on facts or assumptions? Here's how to challenge those thoughts effectively. Identify the fear. Write down exactly what you're worried about. Naming it makes it smaller. Question its validity. Ask yourself, what proof do I have that this will happen? Flip the narrative. Replace the negative story with a constructive one. What's the best that could happen? The mind is powerful, but you have a choice. You can allow fear to dictate your story, or you can challenge it and rewrite the narrative. The Stoics remind us that reality is often far less frightening than what we imagine. Focus on what's real, not what your mind invents. That's where peace begins. 7. Redefine harm. Take back control. In life, we face situations where people hurt us through harsh words, unfair actions, or even deliberate betrayals. It's natural to feel harmed, but the real damage comes when we choose to hold on to that pain. We replay the moment in our minds, relive the hurt, and give it power over us. The Stoics teach a profound truth. Harm is not caused by the act itself, but by how we perceive and react to it. Imagine someone insults you at work. The words sting, and you carry that anger all day. By evening, the event is still on your mind, while the person who said it has likely forgotten. Who's really in control here? Is it them, or is it you? The Stoics remind us that we decide whether or not to feel harmed. Epictetus said, "You are hurt the moment you believe yourself to be." That's the key. You can't control what others say or do, but you can control how you respond to it. Here's how I apply this principle. I used to let criticism at work linger in my thoughts as if it defined my worth. One day, after a particularly harsh comment from a colleague, I stopped and asked myself, does this truly harm me, or is it just their opinion? I realized the power was mine to choose. I could see it as a lesson, ignore it, or let it consume me. I chose to take back control. The lesson here is clear. No one can harm you emotionally unless you allow it. When you find yourself hurt, pause and ask, is this within my control? You can't control others, but you can control your response. Is this worth my energy? Decide if the situation deserves your attention or if it's better to let go. What can I learn from this? Every difficulty carries a lesson, even if it's about resilience. When you redefine harm as something within your control, you free yourself from emotional turmoil. The words or actions of others lose their grip on you. Remember, the real strength lies in mastering your response, not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to see it. 8. Find mental clarity through walking. Life often feels like an endless rush of responsibilities. Stress piles up at work, expectations weigh you down at home, and your mind feels like it's constantly racing. When anxiety grips us, the simplest solution can seem almost too obvious to work. Take a walk. Yet for centuries, walking has been one of the most effective ways to regain mental clarity and peace. After work or on my day off, I often go for a walk with my wife. At first, these walks felt like an obligation, another thing to add to my to-do list. My mind was still elsewhere, thinking about emails, deadlines, or unfinished tasks. But something shifted as I began to pay attention. The sound of our feet on the ground, the rustle of leaves in the wind, and the simple rhythm of walking started to calm me. Slowly, I let go of the noise in my head. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, believed in finding tranquility in nature and movement. Seneca wrote that the mind, like a field, needs to rest to produce. Walking offers that rest, not by sitting still, but by allowing the body to move and the mind to wander. If you're overwhelmed, try this. Step away. Put on your shoes, leave your phone behind, and walk. Even 15 minutes can make a difference. Pay attention to your surroundings, the trees, the sky, the way the light changes. Focus on each step and let your thoughts settle. Here's how to make walking a habit for clarity. Walk intentionally. Make it a daily practice, even if it's just around your neighborhood. Leave distractions behind. Walking is not about checking notifications, it's about clearing your mind. Observe the present. Focus on the small details, nature, sounds, or the sensation of moving forward. By taking these small walks, you're not just exercising your body, you're resetting your mind. The anxiety, stress, and overwhelm begin to lose their grip, replaced by a sense of calm and perspective. As Nietzsche once said, all truly great thoughts are conceived while walking. When the world feels heavy, walking reminds us to breathe, to observe, and to let go. One step at a time, you find clarity. 9. Choose the right handle in every situation. Life throws challenges at us every day. Some are small, like a stressful commute or a difficult conversation. Others hit harder, a financial setback, conflict at work, or struggles at home. These situations feel heavy, and it's easy to believe we have no control. But according to the Stoics, every problem comes with two handles, one that empowers us and one that disempowers us. The handle we choose determines how we carry the burden. Let's take a common example. Receiving criticism. Imagine you're at work, and your boss points out mistakes in a report you've worked hard on. At that moment, you have two handles. One makes you feel attacked, inadequate, and angry. You focus on the injustice of it, replay the conversation in your mind, and carry the resentment with you for days. But there's another handle, one that sees the feedback as a chance to improve. Instead of seeing the criticism as harmful, you treat it as an opportunity to grow and refine your skills. Epictetus, a Stoic who began life as a slave, said it best. Every situation has two handles, one that will bear weight and one that will not. You can choose to see a challenge as something that crushes you or as something that makes you stronger. The situation doesn't change, only your perspective does. When you face a difficult situation, stop and ask yourself, what are the two handles here? Recognize the empowering perspective and the disempowering one. What can I control? Focus on your actions, your response, and the lessons you can take from the experience. How can this make me better? Look for the opportunity hidden in the challenge. Choosing the right handle doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending they don't hurt. It means seeing them for what they are, a chance to grow, to learn, or to let go. The next time life hands you something heavy, remember, you decide how you carry it. By choosing the handle that empowers you, you take back control. You move forward not as a victim of circumstance, but as someone who turns adversity into strength. That is where peace begins. 10. Create space for reflection through journaling. Life moves fast. Between work, family, and endless distractions, it's easy to lose track of yourself. Thoughts swirl around in your mind, unprocessed emotions, lingering worries, or things left unsaid. Over time, they pile up, creating mental clutter and anxiety. This is where journaling, a core Stoic practice, becomes essential. The Stoics used journaling as a tool for clarity. Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most famous Stoic, wrote his meditations as a form of self-reflection. He wasn't writing for anyone else, he was writing to himself, to untangle his thoughts, understand his emotions, and remind himself of what truly mattered. Here's the truth. When you take the time to write down what's on your mind, you create space. Space to reflect, space to process, space to grow. For me, journaling started as an experiment. At first, I didn't know what to write, so I simply scribbled whatever came to mind. Thoughts about my family, my work, my fears, and my small wins. It didn't take long to notice the change. Writing down my worries gave me a distance from them. They no longer felt so overwhelming. When I put my emotions on paper, I could see them clearly, like untangling a knot I didn't know was there. If you feel anxious, uncertain, or stuck, journaling can be your refuge. Here's how to get started. Keep it simple. You don't need perfect words or deep thoughts. Write what's on your mind, even if it's just one sentence. Ask yourself questions. What did I do well today? What can I improve? What am I grateful for? Make it a habit. Whether it's in the morning or before bed, take a few quiet minutes to reflect daily. Journaling isn't about solving every problem immediately. It's about creating awareness and finding clarity. By getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper, you strip away their power to overwhelm you. The Stoics knew that self-reflection was the key to self-mastery. When you make journaling a habit, you don't just process the chaos of today, you build a foundation for a calmer, clearer tomorrow. Writing becomes your anchor, a way to see yourself, your emotions, and your life with the wisdom and clarity you need to move forward. Life is full of challenges, anxiety, stress, and struggles we can't always control. But as the Stoics teach us, we can control how we respond. These 10 strategies we've explored, whether it's embracing gratitude, processing emotions, or focusing on the present moment, are tools you can carry with you every day. They aren't just ideas, they are practices that build resilience, inner peace, and emotional clarity. When parenting worries weigh you down, remember to focus on what you can control, your love and actions. When life feels overwhelming, take one small step forward. If opinions and noise clutter your mind, let go of what doesn't serve you. Gratitude reminds us of what we already have while journaling and walking. Offer the space to reflect and reset. Each lesson is a step toward mastering your emotions and finding calm amidst the chaos. The key, as the Stoics would say, is consistency. These aren't changes you make overnight. They require daily practice, small, deliberate actions that compound into a stronger, more centered version of yourself. Start small. Choose one strategy that resonated with you today and make it part of your life. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these lessons spoke to you the most? How have you dealt with anxiety or stress in your own life? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could inspire someone else on their journey. If you found value in this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official so we can continue bringing you practical wisdom to help navigate life's challenges. Remember, the path to peace and clarity begins with you. Take control. Start today.